Major changes for Secret Wars? Well, it's not much of a secret anymore, is it? I mean, yeah. So here we are once again at Cosmic Book News with, of course, Jonathan Majors, having been found guilty and is, officially fired. I'm pretty sure he was fired already. I mean, it's just all the nastiness and stuff. It was probably going to happen, even though might not necessarily be fair, but that's another story. But anyway, so where does that leave Secret Wars, which the idea of multiverse shenanigans, which Kang was a big part of because of his time travel abilities, although they just jumped right into multiverse, and from the Loki show and everything, and that they were this time travel agency, monitoring all that, maintaining a single timeline, and never really clear as to how. But nevertheless, I guess you just have to infer from all of that Kang at some point was just one man, and through his time travel shenanigans resulted in alternate timelines, and perhaps that was the ultimate outcome of it. Whether they thought it through or not, I don't know. But in the comics, a lot of this, and later on, they went into multiverse aspects where you had, Dinosaur Kang and stuff. It's just ridiculous, but nevertheless. But the idea was that, he traveled through time so many times that there were different versions of him from different points in his life as he traveled. And so, there was Rama Tut and Fantastic Four, then there was the Centurion, then there was Kang. And then there was Immortus when he's much older and kind of mellowed out and everything. Then there was Iron Lad of the Young Avengers, where he was a teenage Kang. So he actually predated even Rama Tut and all that. Which I guess there won't be a version of that unless they do recast, because he could be one they recast when they're embracing multiverse aspects. So, but of course, all the iterations so far they've done was all Jonathan Majors, but they could have done that. And so he recast as another guy, and had they made his mask more of a mask, so it didn't look like Jonathan Majors, then they'd probably be in better shape. But now they got to suddenly a shift around, and people are guessing Doctor Doom would be the main villain to get you here. And certainly in the Jonathan Hickman version of Secret Wars, Doctor Doom was... he basically held the position that the Beyonder did. He was essentially God of the universe until, he was defeated by Reed Richards and all that. But there again, Reed Richards, they might introduce the Fantastic Four characters in here, but that would be a glorified cameo rather than a setup, because if they're still on track, more or less, with the same schedule, they don't have time to develop these characters. They're going to utilize Deadpool and toy around once again and try to recapture No Way Home type gimmicks with the X-Men franchise and have cameos there, I'm sure. Certainly, of course, with Hugh Jackman in it and that sort of thing. And to lead on into whatever is to become of the MCU as a result. Into the Secret Wars, which, according to this article, the idea is it'll be split into two parts. Had been hearing that for quite a while, and that the movie is 5 hours overall, so they'll split it into two parts, which still makes each movie pretty long. But, if you got a lot of cool stuff going on, you can get through it. But what are the odds of that? So, there was supposed to be before that Avengers Kang Dynasty, so this would have been a movie that sets up Kang as causing the Secret Wars. There were Reddit rumors, and a lot of those came true, certainly with Ant-Man, Quantumania, and stuff like that. But the problems kept happening. That movie bombed, and then the troubles for Jonathan Majors, and so on and so forth. They're like, oh, we got to change things around. So I'm assuming that was the plan, those rumors that were in there. I talked about it on my podcast with Lefty Turtington. And, but those obviously are no longer true, as they are having to change course and try to rearrange things in the hope it'll stick. So now it's just Avengers 5. So they'll have to come up with some other title as to who would be the villain. And just forget about all that Kang stuff from Loki and everything. They could. They keep talking. People bring up Doctor Doom and stuff and Doctor Doom would be a far more impressive villain. He's certainly, more famous than Kang certainly for Marvel fans and whatnot. But again, Fantastic Four hasn't been introduced yet, and he is their primary villain. But he is the type of villain that could fill a follow step with Thanos in the sense that he knows how to achieve power. And in the course of Secret Wars in the original, he steals the power from the Beyonders, so he becomes God for a while. But in this, with Loki, the way it ended with him basically controlling the timelines. What if he goes back to his old ways? At the end, they give him an end as he's, a good guy and all that. But had they kept him more in the mischievous vein of Loki, which they didn't do in the series, they could have had something here where he goes back to being the villain, but he's like the ultimate villain because of the power and position he's achieved at the end of that show. Replacing Kang, who was the original He Who Remains and all that. And so that he would be the one manipulating the timelines and causing the creation of Battle World, I assume, for Secret Wars. So maybe it'll be Avengers 5, Glorious Purpose, which was the title of the final Loki episode. But odds are, no, they won't. I would have, because Hiddleston said he had completed his character's story and all that, and he figured this was the end. But I suspect that some cameo, perhaps a little more than a cameo, would have featured throughout the story. But everything's changed now since I'm guessing they won't use Kang, even though the simpler thing would have been to recast. But I guess they just don't want to mention any of it because of the scandal concerning Majors. So I guess that's what they'll do. So anyway, the latest claims about Avengers Secret Wars Part 1 and 2 come again from Jeff Snyder, who first said Secret Wars was getting turned into Part 1 and Part 2, and that Kang wouldn't be the big MCU villain. Well, yeah. Well, Jonathan Majors no longer playing Kang. Snyder looks to be right. Well, yeah. Also, because and I think even if he had been acquitted, I think he was not going to be Kang anymore. That's the thing. And so the idea is that, yeah, he had heard this earlier and all that. So also hopes by some fans that the role will be recast are in doubt, as already actors are passing up on the potential to replace Majors in the MCU. So there's that too. They're like, look, this thing is really bad. Plus, MCU is in bad shape all around. And this Majors thing, which through no fault of their own, on top of everything else, it's just a really awful position they suddenly find themselves in. So there's tons of baggage surrounding the role, especially with the guilty verdict. No one wants that. Regarding what Snyder says now in his own report about Jonathan Majors, an insider tells him that Avengers Secret Wars is basically shaping up to be a giant 5-hour movie with a year-long intermission. I don't know if that's a good idea. Some months, but an entire year? Oh. Presently, Kang Dynasty Avengers 5 is slated for May 1st, 2026. Well, sure that's going to change. And again, what will it be called? It won't be called Kang Dynasty, I'm guessing. With Secret Wars getting released a year later with May 7th, 2027. So I'm guessing Part 2 is May 7th, 2028. Jeez. If MCU can survive that long. So according to the latest info, Avengers 5 will replace Kang Dynasty and will be a direct lead-in to Secret Wars. And both flicks will be around 2 hours, 30 minutes. Each Infinity War runtime is 2 hours, 29 minutes. In-game, 3 hours, 2 minutes. So And I remember back in the days when Infinity War was on the way, it was often referred to as Infinity War Parts 1 and 2. But then, of course, Endgame became the title for the sequel. But with Secret Wars, I imagine it will just be Secret Wars 1 and 2. Yeah. So that's it for the multiverse saga. And really, Spider-Man was the only movie that really was a multiverse movie. And Loki, but, you know, for sight gags and whatnot. Whereas Spider-Man, they actually weaved in a story with the other Spider-Man and the villains and everything. And then Doctor Strange was just wasted in his own movie. Additional rumors also offer Deadpool 3, Fantastic Four, and Spider-Man 4 will build the foundation leading to Avengers Secret Wars. So here we go to the schedule of what's supposed to happen. So you got the What If cartoon. Hey, that's on now. Head over to DP and you can watch it. Echo, well, I don't expect much from that. Other than, hey, it's going to be really violent. Well, okay, but if it's still stupid, it's just violent stupid. But that'll be next month on DP. Then Deadpool 3, which will give them a boost. And this will probably be the same as what Guardians did. But it's not enough to save them, you know. So you got a movie that did well. And then the rest of the year, well... So the X-Men 97 cartoon, that might do well, provided it really is like that cartoon, which was a good series in the 90s. So might get a little bump there over at DP, but for all the good that'll do. Agatha Darkhold Diaries, that's not going to do anything for them. Captain America Brave New World, which they're currently reshooting in its entirety. That's what I suspect. Now is supposed to be in 2025, so that's quite a ways away. So you get Deadpool 3, and then that's it with, you know, TV shows in between. So Fantastic Four, May 2nd, 2025. So depending on what Fantastic Four will entail, having Doctor Doom introduced there, they might be able to finagle a way for that to work into Secret Wars. Just not enough for him to be well established like I think he would need to be. But it depends on what story they come up with. The rumors is it's all going to be about Sue Storm, and Reed's going to be an a-hole. Might not even survive till the end. She-Hulk replaces him. You know, if they do that kind of shenanigans, just never mind. Thunderbolts, which is another one I think they had to delay and reshoot and stuff, are I don't know how much if they've shot anything yet on that one. But I think it's been pushed too. So right now, as of now, July 25th, 2025. Then Blade, which, good Lord, that thing's been in trouble. You would think, hey, it's a guy who hunts vampires. How hard could it be? Well, yeah, it's going to be a feminist movie. Yeah. Well, so for November. So 2025 has more movies, supposedly, if they can get them out. Than 2024. So, and then Daredevil Born Again for DP, provided they're able to do it well, that could have some amount of excitement for it. But I'm dubious on that. However, also heard that they're carving out their own separate line called Marvel Spotlight or something like that, to where Daredevil, again, might not be a part of the MCU. Just the She-Hulk version was. And so the cool, serious one. Why? So I don't know if this is like copying the DCU, going to have Elseworlds movies that aren't connected to the overall universe. Who knows? So Avengers 5 now, May 1st, 2026. And then you go to Secret Wars, May 7th, 2027. And then Spider-Man 4. Now, I would have thought Spider-Man 4 would be one you would want earlier, which seems like Secret Wars begins, and within the context of the original stories, whether it's the original one or just the Hickman one, Spider-Man's already involved. So would this be like a movie they jump, oh, Secret Wars hasn't happened yet, and you see Spider-Man have his adventure, and at the end he gets zapped off into the Secret Wars, similar to the original story. Perhaps they'll do that. Armor Wars, which is supposed to be War Machine carrying on for Iron Man. Don't know. And I think it was originally going to be a DP story. But is going to be a film now, as I remember correctly, or vice versa. I can't remember. Ironheart, Wonder Man, they should just scrap. You know, just save your money. And some of these you might, well, too late for Agatha. It's already done, so it's coming. Could have saved money on that too. So, and I don't know how Integral Thunderbolt is supposed to introduce Red Hulk and stuff like that. And I think they're supposed to have a setup for the Hulk to go back to being the Savage Hulk and stuff like that, which would be an improvement, would be a good idea. But then again, this might be one you want to scrap as well. Sorry to say, but it's not going to be the original Thunderbolts. But then again, I think, I'm thinking the Captain America movie has the, that's right, I'm sorry, I forgot it. Yeah, the Red Hulk is introduced there, but I think it spills over the story, the details of that, which would make sense with Bucky being in that Thunderbolts and everything. But well, maybe just move on. But anyway, that's the setup as of now, and well, you kind of see the problem here. As for what will they do when they were trying to set it up with Kang, and now they have to go without or recast. But again, recasting him is a problem, because who do you find to do it when they'd rather not be a part of the nastiness? Plus, the power of the MCU no longer has, well, power. The spark is has gone, and they're trying to recapture it, but the odds are against them. Sorry to say, but made so many stupid mistakes that were completely unnecessary. Anyway, that's where it stands now for Secret Wars.